Hi, everybody. Hi again. Welcome to today's session. And today we're going to be talking about how to become a change leader in your industry. You might find that you're in different areas right now. You might be in a current role. You are looking to get into a new role. You're looking for new job, you're looking to change career. There could be 101 things that you find yourself going through. So thank you for being part of today's session and listening in. And what I want to do today is just share a little bit about how you can get started to become recognized in a change leader. Because why is being a change leader recognized? Because once you become a change leader in your industry or in your organization, guess what? You become sought after in your role. You become sought after for jobs. You get job offers. Just the other day, I had, just based on my background and how I've positioned myself, I had 5 different people reaching out to me for, hey, are you available for this role? Oh, shit, can you, are you sure? Are you flexible? So you get different people reaching out to you just because you've been able to position yourself in a market where you're seen as a change leader and you become sought after in your industry. And that's what it means to be a change leader in your industry. So this masterclass is for professionals who want to become sought after as change leaders in their organization and industry. Is this for you? If you want to increase your influence and stand out at work in your industry, you're in the right place. If you want to stop wasting time doing and applying the wrong strategies to get you positioned as a leader in your industry, you're in the right place. But if you're thinking, I'm not ready to challenge my thinking about how I position myself for success in today's future of work, then this may not be for you. But if you want to know what it means to be positioning yourself in the future of work, you're in the right place. So if you stick around to the end, I will share with you a free bonus template that you can walk away with in terms of how to prepare yourself for the future of work. I will be sharing that link at the end. So, a little bit about me. Why do I find myself even speaking in a technical conference? When I look at my background, I studied business information technology and marketing. I did the whole coding. Did the development. I have worked with developers and people who are coding or developing technology. And I have found myself evolving gradually to being somebody who is responsible for leading and driving and managing change on technical projects. So SAP projects, ERP projects, data analytic kind of projects, digitization projects, all kinds of projects. And but one of the things that I can clearly say is that it's so easy for us to make the number one mistake that we see, which is relying on only technical skills and certifications to open doors for us. So technical skills, certifications, they will open doors for us. But is that what we're relying on alone? Yes, last week, not yesterday, I did speak to her yesterday as well. But last week, I was speaking to somebody who said to me, Yvonne, I went into this interview. And on going into this interview, they were asking me about certifications. And I didn't have any certifications. And I was still able to get the job because of I was able to demonstrate change leadership skills. I was able to demonstrate soft skills. I was able to demonstrate being able to speak to people. So the old way we are going through, which, like I said, I'm not throwing certifications out of the door, but the old way was I'll spend thousands of dollars on recognized certification, our 10 prestigious institutions. That used to work and it may have opened doors in the past. But the question is that will they keep the doors open? Will you continue to get roles after roles? People want people in their organizations they can work with, they can connect with, they can make change happen, they can lead and drive change. So many times people get into organizations and they say, I've been in this organization for so long, I've been here for 10 years, yet they've overlooked me for promotions, yet they bring in somebody to come and take a higher position. Why aren't they recognizing me? And that's when we have to look inward. Are we making the mistake of just relying on our technical skills? The new way is that the future of work is here. The future of work is now. The future of work has been accelerated. And when we talk about the future of work, we're talking about the increased demand in terms of how we do our work, who we work with, when we work, where we work. All of that is being changed, even and has been accelerated by the pandemic. All that has changed with AI, with automation, with robotics, and even with the pandemic. There's now an increased demand for non-technical skills. When you have technology being able to do automation, when you have chat bots out there who are doing customer service, when you have technology changing, where before if you had to do a technology implementation it took 6 months, now you can see with the use of bots it's more seamless. Something that could even have taken 2 years before, they're doing it in 6 months, they're doing it in 3 months. So what are the non-technical skills that you're coming with? The World Economic Forum predicted some of the top 15 skills here. You see technology use, you see technology design and programming, but you also see a lot of soft skills like critical thinking, leadership and social intelligence, emotional intelligence, persuasion and negotiation. So in addition to even having your technical skills, what are the other skills you have? I want you to just pause for a second and think, what are some of the additional skills that it is that you have? What you have to remember is that what got you here and what got all of us here in the past is not what's going to get us to where we need to be with the future of work. So the question you need to be asking yourself is that how are you changing and how are you adapting your skills for the future of work? Mistake number 2 with our job is with our job role and responsibility. In the old way, you want to go into a role, you said, this is the job role, this is the responsibility, clearly defined. You started on that role or project, expectations were clear and responsibilities clear. Think for a second, how many times have you seen yourself going for an interview and what's on the job specification? You get to the interview is very different. Job specifications are very standard. So first of all, the interview is different and when you start the role is different. The old way was all about defined roles and responsibility. Now organizations are looking for people who are adaptable, they can say, hey, run with that project. You might be a SME on that project. You might be the developer. You might be the technical person on that project, the subject matter expert. But what other roles are you bringing to the table? You might see change happening around you, things going awry, and you start to thinking, that's not my responsibility. Am I the one responsible for leading that change? I've just been brought in to do this little job. That's changing. What was one of the things that was able to position me for success in organizations where, in one organization within the span of 2 years, I got 3 promotions. In another organization, I got moved up from being a project manager to managing a team of over 20 people. Why? Because I wasn't limiting myself to say, oh, I'm just a project manager and this is what I'm going to do. I was able to see change within the opportunities for change within the organization. I was able to work outside the scope of the lines, because right now we just want some straight lines. But I was able to color the box outside of the lines to say, you know what, this might not be my responsibility, but this is what it takes to make this project happen. And by doing so, what happened? By doing so, I was recognized as somebody that could take on larger responsibility within the organization. So though I did not have any sponsor, that's a big term right now, everybody's looking for a sponsor. Though I did not have a sponsor knocking and breaking doors for me, what I could demonstrate was that I was positioned for the role. They were able to look at how I had led change in different things, how I'd colored outside the box and how I'd gone above and beyond. And that was what positioned me for success, to be promoted to being somebody that manages a larger team. So how are you leading change in your current position? Or when you go into an interview, how are you responding to what they say is going to be the role and responsibility? The new way that we have to be aware is that truly organizations are just flat and agile. It's not just one person's responsibility to do something. You're now being asked to lead, drive change, and you're going to be promoted based on the results to be able to make change happen. Another three mistake we make when I talk about being able to lead change, drive change, becoming a core skill, because when I talk about change leadership, I'm talking about emotional intelligence, I'm talking about empathy, I'm talking about leadership, I'm talking about collaboration, I'm talking about being visionary. What are those key skills? I know when I talk about this, people say, oh, I don't want to go into change management. I'm not asking you to go into change management. I'm asking you to stop for a second and say, if given the responsibility to make a project happen, if given a task, are you really just focused on one narrow aspect? Are you expanding your mind to think about it? So, first of all, when we talk about change, I know everybody thinks about change management like the systematic and tactical approach to maybe managing project like situations. That's where you're talking about your change assessments, you're talking about your stakeholder analysis, your change management strategy, and all of those nice stuff. You're talking about models. All of that is great. But what I really want you to hone in on, because there's a lot of talk about change management these days and leading and managing change, I want you to hone in on your change leadership skills. So this is where we're talking about the ability of you to be able to influence and inspire action in other people, whether it's your boss, whether it's your peer, your colleagues, or whether it's people reporting into you, whoever the stakeholder is. Are you able to influence and inspire them to take action? Are you able to inspire them to believe in your solution? Are you able to inspire them to even believe in you when you go for that job interview? Are you able to demonstrate that, you know what, I got this? In times of disruption and uncertainty, people can go to you and say, you know what, I can trust this person to make things happen. I can trust Ryan to make things happen. I can trust David to make things happen. I can trust Sabine to make things happen. How are you responding to change in your daily roles and activity? How are you positioning yourself for success in your organization? Those are some of the questions I want you to, answer. So why is change leadership skills important? Is that, think about it as a tool. So we see a tomato here, but what I want to demonstrate is that no matter what effort you put into something, if you're using the wrong tools, it will not happen. So I want you to start to think about what are some of those soft skills, those interpersonal skills, those non-technical skills that I can use to lead and drive change. That's why it's important to understand what change leadership is, not change management. So when you live here and you go Google change leadership, I want you to think about, what am I talking about when I say leading and driving change? And that's where I want you to start to think about developing your change leadership DNA within you. And the Change Leader DNA is proprietary to our organization, the Change Leadership and Olive Blue, where we work with people to say, how can you discover the change leadership skills you need in order to be able to navigate change and be anticipatory with change, having your own personal toolkit. Because what change leadership is not a role for just the leader at the top. It's not a role for the manager. It's not a role for the executive. It's not the role for someone who has the title. Change leadership is what we all need to be able to develop to stand out in our industries and organizations. Because when everybody has the same skill set, when everybody is doing the same thing, how do you rise in your career? How do you differentiate yourself? So we've spoken about this. So what is discover? Discover is, first of all, I want you to be able to discover what your own specific change leadership skills are or competencies and developing it. So we usually teach on 10, but I want to focus on, sorry, I'm just taking it back, why this is important. So we usually talk about why change leadership competencies are important. Because imagine if you had an axe. Imagine if you had an axe and you had to go chop down a tree. Just imagine that. If you keep on applying the wrong way to lead and drive change, because sometimes people say, oh, communication is great. But if you're just talking and talking at people, or communication is, how do you even tailor your communication? That's a big change leadership competency that we talk about. Even in interviews, how do you apply listening? How do you apply empathy to being able to connect with the person who is interviewing you? When I go for interviews, the first thing I make a focus to do is connect with my interviewer. When I look at my resume, job resume, even with my when applying for jobs, how do I even apply change leadership or even communication to that, or change leadership skills? Is knowing my audience. Who are the people that I'm speaking to, and how will I connect with them and communicate with them in such a way that they want to speak to me, they want me to be in the room. So that's one of the way that I continuously lead and drive my way in my career or even in my job through change, is constantly being able to sharpen all of my skills, to say whether it be when it comes to leading change, whether it be empathy, to know who my stakeholders are, whether it be agile in the way that I'm responding to change, whether it be visionary or understanding the trends that are around me, whether it be collaboration and having a team around me that I support. But it's knowing the right skill sets and knowing how to apply it when it's important. And that's what Discover is about, discovering those skill sets that you need to be able to position yourself in your own organization and in your own industry so that you can stand out. Another thing is not just knowing those skills. What we tend to focus in is like, how do I apply those skills in the right way? What are the practical ways, and apply it in a practical way? So you can go out there, you can learn all the theory about all the competencies you need to have. And what's so interesting, I'm a little bit different. It's like I'm sitting with people and they can talk about all the theory and the Maslow theory to say this is what Maslow says and this is the models. But how do you practically apply your skills, knowing the what, when, and how? So it's not, I really want you to take your mindset about, don't go away and start to Google right now and look for templates and look for models and say, how am I going to lead change, and look for all the theories out there. I want you to start looking at the change leadership competencies, discovering those skills and looking for practical ways that you can apply them in a way that makes sense, that you can connect with your audience. Remember, I spoke about, if you're looking for a job, you understand, how can I apply empathy in such a way that when I'm speaking to my interviewer, or if I'm in a spot where in a technical place, I'm a developer, for instance, or I develop code, how can I change my style and adapt my style when I'm speaking to business stakeholders? If I'm in HR and I'm trying to communicate something to somebody who is technical, how can I adapt my style from a way of empathy to be able to connect with my stakeholders? How do, if they say communication is very key and you need to use storytelling, how do I adapt my style and apply it in such a way that I can get the results that I want? We need to look for practical ways. So it's not about going out there and telling a great story. It's about knowing who your audience are and how you will connect to them. It's not about saying what is emotional intelligence and you know the definition of emotional intelligence. It's how can I apply emotional intelligence in a way that works for me. The one experience that always comes to mind is I had the stakeholder. Everybody had said, "Oh, Yvonne, I got onto this project," and everybody said, "Yvonne, please, you need to go deal with that stakeholder. She doesn't want to assign technical resources. Our developers are waiting. They don't know how to move forward. They've been asking for these resources. She's not responding to our emails." What would you do in such a situation? Is it as simple as just sending an email and saying, "Hey, Ben, assign resources to this project"? That wasn't working because she wasn't even responding to the emails. And when I went to go meet to the stakeholder and say, "Oh, hi, just joined the project," and started to speak to the stakeholder, she raised her voice and was ready to walk out of that meeting. But what did I do in that meeting? It wasn't any model. It wasn't any template. It wasn't about knowing there's something called emotional intelligence or empathy. Was how did I apply that in order to be able to turn around that situation with that stakeholder, where I went with that stakeholder from saying, wanting to walk out of that meeting, to every meeting there is, that stakeholder is saying, "Where is Yvonne? Why isn't Yvonne in this meeting?" As soon as I left that meeting, before I got to the office, to the other building, somebody has said, "Yvonne, what did you do in that meeting? She has assigned resources to this project to now work on the project." That is what it means to have empathy, apply empathy and emotional intelligence in such a way that you can get the results you want when you're working with your stakeholders on your project. So knowledge is all about acquiring facts, understanding, and understanding is really about interpreting those facts and wisdom and getting the results you want. So once you discover your competencies, you have to learn how to apply those competencies in order to get the results you want and navigate through it. Another one is that you have to be anticipatory in being able to overcome barriers and roadblocks in all of the different things you're doing. So, what does change leadership mean? Think about the future of work that we currently face. Change leadership means taking the lead in that situation and saying, change is happening. How am I going to be adaptable? How am I going to anticipate the changes happening? How am I going to respond to this change in order to overcome roadblocks? It's about being prepared to respond to change faster with the practical strategies on how you can navigate. So it's preempting, preparing, and responding. They say the best way to predict the future is to create it. If you're looking for a job right now, question is, what skills are they looking for? Are you still going with an outdated resume? Are you still going there with outdated skills? Are you still going there into the interview process with how they say you need to be able to do your resume, have it in this format? Yes, those formats work, but if 100 people are sending their resumes in the same format, how are you creating your future to make it different? How are you predicting how can I do this differently? You need to anticipate where things are going, what trends are going, what skills people want to see on the resume. What was on your resume, what was key 10 years ago may no longer be key now. What skill was being sought after 2 years ago before the pandemic may be different. What are some of those things you need to anticipate in your career and even on your job in order to be able to make a difference? I shared a story earlier about a job which I was on, and I got promoted into leading a team from being a project manager. What was different about that role was that I wasn't usually waiting for being assigned what I needed to do. I would come to the organization and say, hey, this is the trend that is happening. This is what's happening in the market. How are we doing it? What are we responding? Here are some ideas. What did that make me do? That made me stand out as somebody who was a high performer in the organization and they wanted to keep in the organization. So they paid attention to my career. How are you predicting the future and creating the future that it is you want? Are you reacting to say, oh, I'll just wait on when something happens? Or are you anticipating and sniffing around to say, what do I need to do differently? What are the different changes? How is AI changing? What are the new soft skills I need to work on? What is the World Economic Forum saying are the top 10 skills that employers are after? The Financial Times did a survey recently, and of the top 3 skills that they said organizations were going to start training their people on and looking for, change management was number 2. So, how are you positioning yourself with the right skills? We need to be able to anticipate, strategize, and respond to change better and faster in today's business environment. To be responsive, we're talking about being agile, being proactive, and quick to adapt. I've spoken about that. So, if you had to take one thing away from here today, what I want to be able to share with you is that you can successfully lead and manage change to become a change leader in your industry. And I'm not talking about change management. I'm just talking about developing change leadership competencies and mindsets that will help you lead, where you don't have to, worry about what to do, when to do, and how to do it, where you become a valuable resource in your organization, where when they're having meetings, they say, I want, I want I want Sabine to be part of that meeting, or Kang to be part of that meeting, or Ryan to be part of that meeting. What are you doing to stand out and differentiate yourself? What skills are you developing? Not just leadership skills, but change leadership skills that you can drive the organization forward when leading and when you're faced with projects. So I want you to stop wondering, stop worrying about what to do and how to do it, and start leading change in your lives, in your careers, and in your organization to position yourself for success. So we are right on the hour. My time is up, but I want to be respectful of the time. But please take, if I mentioned before that I was going to give you a free bonus, please take this link And with this link, you should be able to um, really take a few minutes and consider your strengths. You do a SWOT analysis on what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the opportunities for you right now, and what are the threats around you, and how can you position and prepare yourself for the future of work. So get this link. It's on there for some time. I know I'm at time. If there are any questions, I will be more than happy to answer any questions. Any questions? Or we are good. Alrighty. I have a quiet class today. So this is a link. It's really been great to have you. Put the link in the chat. So let me stop sharing and I will put the link in the chat. Here you go. So I do know there's some people here. At least I got someone say put the link in the chat. So here you go, Prudence. Here you go with the link. You are welcome. Thank you, Dominique. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody for taking your time to attend the session. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend the last half hour with me. So thank you. You are most welcome. And wishing you all of the best. And please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I will be more than happy to continue the conversation. Just look for my name on LinkedIn and we can connect there. Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate you. So have yourself a great day, everybody. And in case you heard some noise in the background, I am in the middle of work in my home. So apologies for that in advance. I did tell them to keep the noise down. Thank you, everybody. Have yourself a great day. Bye for now.